Hola, clase. I'm almost back. Hoy es viernes, el 16 de septiembre, y espero estar en la escuela el lunes. That's my plan. So let's just go through this class for today, and I'm going to lead you through some activities so that we can stay on top of things and not fall too behind. So, por favor, you have a document. Remember how you took that quiz the other day and you had to do the activity in Página 3, I think it was. It was the one when you had ser and estar, and it was a graded. So if you could look for that assignment, if you need to pause this video and just grab that so that we can continue and take a few notes and do a few other things with the packet. So pause this video and grab that. So we want to go to Página Uno. And again, we're talking about ser and estar with doctor and police as some acronyms to help you memorize when to use ser and estar. So let's just fill in the charts. I asked you to do this if you wanted to the other day, just to review, but you will need to know all the forms. So for the presente, make sure that you know for ser, you're going to have soy. You can fill them in with me now. If you already filled them in, just check over your answers. Soy, eres, es again for él, ella. Somos, nosotros somos. Sois for vosotros, and then son for ustedes, and ellos, ellas, ustedes. For estar, and if I'm going too fast at all, you can pause this video. Yo estoy. Estás, no olvides de tus acentos con estar. Está for usted and ella and él. No acento for nosotros or yo. Estáis. And then están. So imperfecto, do you remember the imperfecto? Saying things that you were doing in the past or that you used to do. There's a bunch of posters on the wall above my desk for this, if you forgot how to use it. So acciones habituales, acciones en progreso. So era, like cuando yo era una niña, things that were over time. Eras, era. Cuando yo era joven, because you were young for a while. Éramos, erais, and eran. So they follow a pattern. And then the same thing with estar. So usually you have aba, abas, aba, abamos, abais, aban for AR. But remember, there's only 3 irregulars. There's era, there's also iba, and then there's veía. So mostly, though, you're going to have hablaba, hablabas, hablaba. Remember that song we used to sing? So for estar, it's going to be estaba. Cuando yo estaba enojada ayer. I was angry yesterday. Or estabas. Tú estabas en la escuela ayer. So wherever you were for a longer period of time, estaba. So remember, it goes hablaba, hablabas, hablaba. So estaba, estabas, estaba. Estaba is going to be the LA usted. Estábamos. And don't forget, there's a little accent on there, on the A. Estabais. Estaban. And then the pretérito, don't forget, fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fuisteis, o fueron, ser, o ir. It's not too complex. You'll know best on the context. So for pretérito, you're going to have fui, fuiste, fue. So that's the same for ser and ir in the preterite. Fue, fuimos, fuisteis, and fueron for both of those. Estar, this is one of our irregular stems. So you have estuve. Remember that. So you have your iste, o, oops, imos, isteis, and dieron. No accents for these. It's the orange poster that we always talked about last year. So this is going to be estuve, estuviste, estuvo for both of those. Estuvimos, estuvisteis. Remember, you just add is to the two forms. So if it's estuviste, you just add is. And then estuvieron for the ellos form. So those are your forms for ser and ir, for the imperfecto for estar and ser, perdón. So those are those. If you need to pause, you can do that. So for this next part, this is actually your tarea. So remember, in Spanish, oftentimes you can use ser and estar to say that something is exceptional. So for example, for número uno, when you say he is bored, when you say él es aburrido, you're saying that he is boring. So it's kind of like his characteristic. So when you want to say that he's temporarily bored, oftentimes ser can be used a little differently. So if I say like, yo estoy muy aburrida, it's saying that I'm like really bored at that point. So try your best to do this. It's more of a completion grade. So when I come back on Monday, we'll go over it, but I'm going to give you a 10-point grade just for doing it. So do your best to try to figure out the translations for those. And just kind of guess too. If it says the soup is delicious, is that a characteristic, or is that something saying that tonight the soup is especially delicious? So oftentimes ser or estar can be used to accentuate something. Like if I say tú estás muy bonita hoy, I'm not just saying tú eres bonita, like you're pretty. I'm saying that today you look exceptionally pretty. So that's a way for you to use estar to say something's more than usual. Instead of saying tú eres bonita, you can say tú estás muy bonita. So that is that. You already completed this. And then the last thing I want you to do is just circle the words. So it says here, dibuja un círculo alrededor de las palabras desconocidas. So you're circling the unknown words. And then I want you to fill in the words that you do know. So if you know that acabar de means to have just, you can fill it in. If you don't know what adivinar is, just circle it like a tiny, or you can underline it if you want. And then when I see you next time, we're going to make some sentences. So just do that for me. Abrumado, if you don't know what abrumado is, just underline it. If you know what it means, like sonreír is to smile, or sentarse, some of these words you saw with me, just write the definitions. So that is your tarea for the next class. I'm back on the document again. I explico la tarea, so I just explained it. Fill in the words that you know and circle the words that you don't know from the vocab list on page 4. So that is your homework. And then repaso de las respuestas para las preguntas de capítulo 4 y 5. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to the reading that you guys did, which is chapters 5 and 6, 4 y 5 for today. And you were supposed to answer some questions. So if you could get your packet out and pause this video if you need some time just to grab it. We're going to go over to capítulo 4, the questions, and just review those answers. And then we're going to read capítulo 6. So for capítulo 4, the first question was, ¿cuál es la primera clase de Steve? And so just check your answers. Su primera clase es español. And then, ¿qué están haciendo Allison, Emily, y Eric cuando Steve entra en la clase? And that should be, están jugando el juego de las tarjetas. So this is important to know. Están, so we're using estar, and then we're using ando yendo. So están jugando. So you're going to be tested on this at the end of this story because it'll be a couple different concepts. So to say that someone's doing something, están jugando el juego de las cartas, or las fichas, the game that they invented. ¿Qué dice el profesor que necesitan para el examen? And she says, no necesitan nada más que un lápiz, ¿verdad? So, no necesitan nada más que un lápiz. So she says, dice que necesitan un lápiz. So you want to work on writing full sentences. ¿Qué hay en el examen? Hay fotos de comidas. So we could just write, hay fotos de comidas. So hay, ¿qué hay? Hay fotos de comidas. ¿De qué es la primera foto del examen? And then here it says, el examen, so en la foto de, sí, mira, la primera foto es la foto de un pollo. So we can put, la primera foto es de un pollo. Es de un pollo. ¿Qué no puede creer Steve? What can't he believe? So él sabe todas las respuestas. So I would just say, like, you could also just use your knowledge of what's going on in the story. So you can put no puede creer, he can't believe, que, that, él sabe, he knows, todas las respuestas. Because he's not used to being good at Spanish. His girlfriend helped him a lot with this new game that they invented. It's really what the whole story is about. ¿Qué decide chequear? So I changed it to check. I don't like the word checar, which sounds like a kind of a slang to me. It's chequear, which is to check. So if you want to just change it from checar to chequear, that's how you say to check. So, ¿qué decide chequear Steve en su tiempo? So decide chequear sus respuestas. He decides to check his answers. So you can say Steve or just decide. Steve decide chequear. What does he decide to check? Sus respuestas. ¿De qué empieza a hablar el profesor después del examen? So what does she talk about after the test? Empieza a hablar de vocabulario nuevo. And he's probably not listening at this point. So empieza. So empezar is to begin. So empieza a hablar sobre vocabulario nuevo. ¿Cuál es la misión de Steve? La misión de Steve. Seguir siendo el campeón del juego nuevo. So, él quiere, so Steve quiere, la misión es, so we could say the mission is seguir siendo, so that's, he's to continue being el campeón del juego. Seguir, la misión de Steve es seguir siendo el campeón del juego. And then, ¿qué van a hacer para celebrar? So, van a hacer, what are they going to do to celebrate? And we said, vamos a ver, they said, vamos a ver una película. So we could just say, van a ver una película. So we're going to go to the next chapter. And if you need to pause this video, you can do that. But let's just go to the next set of questions. So for capítulo 5, ¿en qué piensa Steve cuando se despierta? So what does he think about when he wakes up? So está pensando en el día de ayer. So he's thinking about the day before yesterday. So piensa en el día de ayer. And again, I'm just reviewing these. You were supposed to do these for homework, so hopefully this isn't, you're not copying now, but this is what you were supposed to do, answer the questions. ¿Quién toca la puerta de Steve? So it should be la mamá toca la puerta. So she knocks on the door. ¿Qué nota recibe Steve en su examen de español? So Steve recibe, so Steve is our subject, recibe our verb, una A en su examen de español. ¿A quién llama Steve? Who do you think? So Steve llama a Allison. ¿Qué está cocinando la mamá? So again, here's an example of está cocinando. This is another thing, an example of what you would be tested on. What is she cooking? So está cocinando el desayuno, huevos, tocino, y panqueques. So we could say está. So we're using a form of estar plus ando, yendo. We're taking our verb cocinar. We're taking off the AR, and we're adding ANDO. So está cocinando tocino, huevos y panqueques. Un desayuno típico americano, right? ¿Dónde se va a sentar Steve? And I think it just says in front of the orange juice. Ella siempre hace un desayuno así los sábados. Se sienta a la mesa en frente de su vaso de agua. So you could just say in front of his vaso de, no agua, de jugo de naranja. So se sienta or se va a sentar en frente de su jugo, in front of his juice. Or su jugo de naranja. ¿Qué tiene Steve muy pronto? Okay, so tiene los exámenes finales del trimestre. So there's a trimester. So tiene exámenes. ¿A dónde van a ir si Steve recibe B o notas más altas? Van a ir a México, actually. So they're going to be able to go to Mexico. So aquí dice, pues Steve, tú y mamá queremos darte un desafío. So un desafío is the whole idea is a challenge. So the whole story is about el desafío, a challenge. So it says here, si recibes B o notas más altas en todos tus exámenes del trimestre, en un mes vamos a ir a México. So it's in a month. So tienen exámenes. So van a ir a México when? En un mes. And if you had something similar, don't think you have to write it just like I did. Just something that's similar, and as long as it's correct too. You can check with me if you want. And then exámenes, so he has matemáticas, biología, so you could say tiene exámenes de matemáticas, biología, español, inglés, e historia. So those are the exams. And then, ¿cómo se siente Steve? How does he feel? Se siente increíble. So that would be the last answer. So I'm going to attempt to do a volleyball reading with you right now. So we're going to go to capítulo 6. You only had to go up to 5 for homework. So what I'm going to ask you to do is have one student read the paragraph, the first one where it says El Sábado, and you're just going to go to the end of the paragraph where it says del torneo. And so you read it in Spanish and then pause the video. I'm going to read it in English and then do the next one. Just maybe a student can stand by the keyboard and help out whoever's in the room subbing for me. Thank you so much for being there, just so you don't have to keep pausing. So for every paragraph, unpause it, and then I'm going to read the translation. So just read it in Spanish. I'll read it in English, then pause me again. You read it in Spanish, I'll read it in English. We'll do the whole chapter that way. So someone pause me now and read the first paragraph. It's Saturday in the afternoon, and Steve, Allison, and Eric are in the gym of the school. They are watching, that's another example of están mirando, a game of basketball, a tournament, basically, game. So now you're going to pause me again. Another student should read the next paragraph. So you have to receive a B or grades, higher grades in all of your exams this trimester. Allison asks Steve, and if you do it, you and your parents are going to go to Mexico for the spring vacations. So pause me and the next person. Yes, responds Steve. And I know that I can do it because I have you. Pause me. Well, look, Steve, yes, you have me, and I'm going to help you a little bit, but I have to study for my classes too, answers Allison. Pause me. Suddenly, everybody applauses. Emily just got a point, and the McWilliams team just won the game. Pause me. It's that you have to learn to study alone, continues Allison. I am not always going to have time to help you. Steve feels a little bit angry and he says, "But you're my girlfriend. You don't want to help me?" "Of course I want to help you. It's not that. I'm only telling that you should not depend on me for everything," responds Allison. So pause me and then the next line. So basically you're just going up to the period. "You think that I depend on you for everything?" he tells her with a serious voice. "No, Steve, I'm not saying that. Look, let's talk about something else." Steve tells Allison, or Allison tells Steve. Eric notices the tension between Steve and Allison. "What a great tournament, no?" says Eric. "Emily plays incredible." Pause me. "Yes, she is a great athlete," responds Allison. "I'm going to buy some popcorn. Do you want something, Steve, Eric?" Pause me. "No, I don't want anything. I don't want you to think that I depend on you for food," Steve tells her with a sarcastic voice. Pause me. Allison gets very angry. Pause me. "Well, forget about it then. I'm leaving. Have a great day, Eric," Allison tells Eric. Pause me. Allison leaves the gym. She is furious. Pause me. "What's wrong, Steve?" Eric asks him. Allison only says that you can't spend all of your time studying. She can't spend all of her time studying with you. She didn't say anything else. And now she's angry for your stupidity. Pause me. Steve responds, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. It's that I want to do very well on my exams. And it's not only to go on vacations to Mexico. It's that I really believe that I can do it. But I don't know if I can do it without Allison." Pause me. Steve takes out his phone from his pocket and he says, pause me. "I am going to call Allison to ask for, just say sorry, basically." Pause me. "Look, Steve." Oops, am I in the wrong page here? Oops. "Look, Steve, better that you do it later. She is very angry now. I don't think she'll want to talk to you in this moment." Pause me. You're right," says Steve. Pause me. Both of them continue to watch the tournament. Steve can't concentrate much on the tournament because he's thinking and how to fix things with Allison. Okay, so if you have a little bit of time, you can answer those questions. You can work in a group if you want. Your homework also is to just read chapters 7 and 8. So if you look in Schoology, you're going to see that in your materiales for today. So, and I'm sorry if that was a little wonky with the reading. I was trying to do a little volleyball with you and still participate with class. So you are supposed to read 7. I'll actually update this because this is still showing for today, 4 and 5, because I'm recording it on Wednesday. So you'll be reading chapters 7 and 8. So if you want to just mark in your book here. So you have 7 and 8 and the questions. So you should have enough time in class now to do a little bit of it. So 7 questions, chapter 7, and then 8. And then we'll review the questions when I see you, and then we're going to finish the story next time I see you too, and then move on. Muchas gracias por la paciencia. Que tengan buen fin de semana. Adiós.